For more on the judge's ruling, we turn to Jesse Weber. He's an attorney and anchor on the Law and Crime Network. Jesse, good morning.
Good morning.
First question for those people who have coverage, should they be worried right now?
It's a concern. It definitely is. I mean, for right now, the law stays in effect. Nothing from a practical aspect is going to change in their lives. But they're waking up this morning right before the enrollment and thinking, what does that mean for the future? So anybody that has a pre-existing condition, anybody that was relying on Medicare or Medicaid, or anybody that enrolled, I think up to 12 million people, that's a concern because that law that they were relying on was just declared unconstitutional, but it has to make its way through the courts first.
Was this a surprise to everyone? I mean, was that tax clause in that tax bill last year that was inserted? Did anyone see this coming?
I think they did, and I'll tell you why. Because, and this is the argument from the court, right? If you take away the penalty, if people don't have to pay a fine for not getting health insurance, then what is an individual mandate really? It's unconstitutional. If you don't have that individual mandate, then what is the Affordable Care Act? Because the Affordable Care Act was all built on that penalty. And that's what the court said. It said you really can't have this. And we're a court. We can't create a new law. We can't say this is a new regulatory scheme. It would change the whole landscape. So you have this law that doesn't have that penalty provision. There's no way this could stand.
Now, the Supreme Court has upheld the Affordable Care Act twice before. If it gets back to the Supreme Court, the court looks a little different now with Brett Kavanaugh on the bench. So how do you think it'll play out?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes, we have a different court. It's a conservative majority. If you are an anti-Obamacare person, if this is if you're the architect of that, this is the prime time to get it repealed and replaced. The thing is, though, and it's also decided on a very different issue. Again, if you don't have that penalty provision, if you're not forcing people to buy health insurance, then this really makes sense for it to be overturned. Now, the question is, everybody who's a supporter of it, they now have some leeway. They saw what the judge ordered. They'll look at those arguments. They'll come back. They'll make an argument going forward. It's not the end of the story. But this is not a good day for anybody that was relying on it.
So what's the timetable here now, Jesse? Because if you've got the coverage, you're wondering how much longer might I have it for?
Right. I would say everybody in 2019 is probably okay.
Yeah. Because
the appeals process takes some time. Yes, they can try to fast track it through the appeals court and then try to fast track it through the Supreme Court because it's such a big issue. But I've seen this happen before. I'd be more concerned for people who are trying to think about in the future what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's no guarantee that everybody in 2019 is protected, but I'm more curious about 2020, especially with the election.
130 million people with pre-existing conditions. That's a biggie.
And I've heard the administration say, look, we're going to try to do something to protect these people. Congressional Republicans are like, we'll pass some sort of legislation to protect them. Easier said than done. It's a problem.
Jesse Weber, we thank you.
Thank you.